Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to and here we are to do a breakdown and review and discussion and conversation all about the spoilers for chapter 244 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as, I have no idea, I do know, it's the battle in the demon-infested Shinjuku part 16, and the only reason I know that is because I see the 16 in the Raw. KK. I get it literally is the battle in the demon-infested Shinjuku, but could you give it another name? But regardless, we have quite a hefty, scrumdiddlyumptious chunk of stuff to talk about. So, let's not waste any more time. Actually, let's waste a little bit more time. I need to grab something. Now, let's not waste any more time. Editing me, I summon you to this plane of reality. 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? You didn't know. I got the pencil here. And, fun fact. I have it on me. I keep it on me at all times. The poison for Cusco. But we got a hefty chunk to talk about. The first page already has me losing my good mind. And no, not because we're cutting back to the battle that everyone really wanted to see. I couldn't care. Well, actually, it is kind of because of that. We don't know what happened. Now, you may be wondering, like, Pencil Man, what do you mean we don't know what happened? Like, nothing has changed. We're just back here, where we were supposed to be, like, 5 chapters ago. What do you mean we don't know what happened? You know exactly what I mean when I say we don't know what happened. And of course, you know, Kenny's literally decapitated. Bro is on the ground. He might as well be a football, for all we know. Like, for all intents and purposes, bro may as well just be a whole football. But the thing about that football is, we don't know what it's doing, what it's cooking, what's whipping. And notably, unlike 235, which is where I admitted I got a whole bunch of vibes at the end of 243, the thing with cutting back to this without explicit, and I mean explicit follow-up on what Kenny meant, has 3 things that are of concern. Thing number 1, we don't know if Kenny's actually cooked. Because remember, I think a lot of people have the misconception, and people consistently forget, but Kenny's not actually the person. We associate him with Suguru Geto's body because that's the body we most often see him in throughout the narrative. But that's not Kenny. The body and flesh that he was possessing is merely a conduit. Like, your body and flesh is merely a conduit for your brain. You are literally a fleshy mech suit. Remember that and fear that fact, because ever since I was told it, I've never been able to realize anything else. But with that being the case, remember, Kenny is literally just mech suit. So the brain is still intact. Yuta, he had a gorgeous swing, a clean cut. He slashed on all the allegations in one shot. But unfortunately, bro didn't aim high enough. He did not aim high enough. The brain is still intact. Who knows what the brain can get down and dirty with. Number 2, we have no follow-up on what Kenny said at the end of last chapter. Both in the official translations and the rough translations and the in-between translations, he kept saying someone was going to carry on his will. And that implies that even if Kenny himself is somehow cooked, which, who knows, may be the case. Once again, if Kenny just gets cooked, and I was just wrong, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time, probably won't be the last time. You're going to hear me make some most likely more wrong statements in this chapter, but hey, you know, I got to do what I got to do. Until I see Kenny a million, billion, trillion, quintillion % cooked, I'm going to keep holding out copium, or hopium, whatever you want to call it. And to those who are wondering, who are questioning my sanity for holding out hopium for Kenny, let me explain it to you. I really don't like Kingdom Hearts 3 Xehanort. I wish he kept his birth by sleep motivation, and Kenny is birth by sleep Xehanort in manga form. So I need that Xehanort. But with that being the case, the third thing we need to worry about is the fact that we don't know the timescale. That was one of the weirdest things when we cut to the Takaba fight. We know when the fight started. It was when Gojo got by Sukuna. But after that, we have no idea of the time frame. We don't know how far it progressed over here. We don't know if the events of Yuta Kenja, I nearly slashed my own Keyblade in half. That would have made me cry on air for a minute. But with that being the case, we don't know if that happened at the same time Kashimo fell. We don't know if that happened 10 minutes from now. We don't know if it happened 10 minutes in the past. We have no idea where the time frame is on this. And thusly, at any point during this fight, whatever Kenny was cooking, if it happens to do with the taking over her character, if it happens to do with the binding vow, we know he said it with Sukuna, if it has to do with any of his kids, whether it be Itadori, whether it be Choso, it's still up in the air. We have no idea what that means. And also, I guess the secret fourth thing, we still don't know how Kenny's body hopping technique works. We don't. We assume that he has to, like, is this dull enough? This is dull enough. We assume he has to, like, boop, and, like a can opener. Just spin that bad boy around on someone's head, pop the dome piece off, do a backflip, have the brain fall out into the new body, and then bada bing, bada boom, he's got a new body. He picks up the brain cap from the previous body, and he slides the cap back on, and boom, new Kenny. But we actually have no idea how it works. And remember, this is Jujutsu Kaisen, where a lack of information literally is the difference between a character losing a fight and a character winning a fight. So the absolute lack of information on Kenny's technique is completely up in the air. We assume he has to take exclusively bodies. We assume that. We don't know that. And if you go with the common idea, because I've been seeing it left, right, up, down to the right, up to the left. I've been seeing it. Will that be inversed? That'll probably be inversed. Whatever. But with that being the case, we know if we go with the common idea that Takaba actually cooked himself last chapter, like he was like, okay, I introduced this plot device, let me get rid of this plot device. Then we do have a viable body right there. Though admittedly, the only reason I'm so worried about this and like not necessarily sure if Takaba will get possessed is not only because Yuta's standing in between Takaba and Kenny, and as fast as the brain is, I don't think it's gonna like Speedy Gonzalez past Yuta. Number two, I want Yuta to be possessed. I'll make a whole video talking about it more in depth now that it seems like a genuine possibility, considering Yuta doesn't get a single... Well, does he get an appearance this chapter? Let me check. I'm not sure if Yuta actually, like, even appears. Does he appear in this chapter? I'll admit, I took a hard glance at the Raws, but I didn't take too hard a glance at the Raws. Is he here? Yep, he's... Okay, so he is still there. But then, look who else is... look who else is here. Just because they're here does not mean much. But, with it being the case, there's a bunch of stuff left open-ended from the previous chapter. Yuta fans, I'm still telling you, enjoy your dub. Especially considering we did not get what I thought we were going to get, which was a similar 235 to 236 transition. A solid dub into a hard role reversal. We didn't get that. We did not get it. It'd be like that when it be like that, especially when it be like that. So hold on to the dub. I'm even going to enjoy the dub myself, because once again, I literally have a video. I have a whole drawing prep for it and everything. But even still, I'd be a little bit wary, especially considering we don't know the time frame, we don't know how Kenny's technique works, we don't know a whole bunch of stuff, and these certain circumstances that can arrive due to Kenny's lack of Kenniness, or Kenny's excess of Kenniness. But of course, that's so much speculating off the back of 243 that's just confirmed by the start of this chapter. Let's actually talk about the start of this chapter, where we see Higuruma and Itadori Yuji pull up on a grinning, a cheesing, and just look at his face. Look at his goofy little face. It's not goofy, nor is it little. It's actually genuinely terrifying. But look at this duo pulling up on Sukuna. Now, I will admit, because we don't get to it in a bit, but I will say this now, and I'll bring it up again. I'm not gonna say it's plot, but I'm going to say it's plot here. Once the review comes out, once I get more text and can actually like read the chapter, because I'm really, I don't know. The only reason I knew the chapter title is because like it's a 16, like, and I remember consistently complaining about the previous titles. So there's that, and also that's it. That's literally it. And thusly, I know the chapter title. I know nothing else in this chapter. I saw some of the rough translations. I've heard different things. Well, we're going to talk about those, but of course, translations, they help a whole bunch. It's why I recommend you become a patron and remember. Patron for as low as $1 a month. Remember, for as low as $3 a month. You can get the live reaction to this very chapter once it gets translated and has much better quality images. But with that being the case, the reason I'm bringing up the idea of that it's plot, Sukuna knows what Higuruma's domain does. He does. Verbatim. He knows what it does. And he very specifically did not incarnate when he was Meguna against Gojo, because he was concerned about wasting a revival card against these people. So we know Sukuna was willing to be cautious against this gaggle of individuals that he now has to fight. So tell me why this Baka, this fool, doesn't just like, there's no reason that Higuruma should make it past this first page. Just to be safe. Like, and I get it. Sukuna, if there's one thing that the Gojo versus Sukuna fight established, is that when Sukuna feels like he's in a dominant scenario, he does not necessarily care about playing fully optimally. We see this by the very nature of how he fights Gojo. Even Gojo acknowledges that in the middle of his fight. He's like, He's kind of making some silly plays, some silly goofy plays that personally ain't that smart. But of course, Gojo made a bunch of stupid plays in that fight too. Once again, that fight breakdown is going to come out soon. It's probably going to be like 3 hours long. You know me, it's going to be 3 hours long. So give me some time on that one. But with that being the case, the fact that he's even chancing Higuruma taking away his curse technique, a little bit foolish. I mean, obviously he should have no fear. But there are things that may or may not be mentioned in this chapter that may have your boy theorizing ideas on how they may plan to take Sukuna down, even if certain conditions that are implied by this duo going up against Sukuna are not met. But of course, that relies on me being a massive, gigantic, gargantuan agenda pusher. And I would never, me, got the pencil, push an agenda. I would never do. So, oh, you know, I'm ready to push an agenda. If there's one thing I can do, is push an agenda. But let's actually hop up the first page. I've been talking here for a minute. We get a glance back in time for a minute. Kusakabe, I want to fix your face. But we see that Kusakabe and the whole crew are talking about, hey, let's be real. Let's level each other real quick. We need strats. We definitely, absolutely, indubitably need strats in order to take on Sukuna and Kenjaku, and we need battle prep. At least that's what I'm assuming he's talking about, based on what I saw, like the loose translation of this chapter. And with that being the case, Kashima, the thing, it's weird, right? It's because I think in the rough translation, once again, I'll see once the chapter is actually translated, but at least in the rough translations, apparently Kashimo says something along the lines of, it's cowardly to try and make a plan. Just jump at him. It's all out war. But Kashimo, you specifically wanted a 1v1. You didn't jump Sukuna for a reason. So shut your mouth. But then again, I have no idea what he actually says here. And we get the reveal that Miwa just can't fight. At least not with that thing. Like before, Miwa had it on her. She had that thing, and I still remember. I think I even have a review up on the channel of that. I was very sports reviewing JJK. Heck, I missed chapter 240, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back to review that. Unless y'all want me to, but I highly doubt that. So, with that being the case, I still remember when Miwa first dropped in Sendai. I remember my brain actively glitching, being like, what is she doing there? And of course, a bunch of people got hyped. There's a very specific content creator that you may know of that was pushing the Miwa narrative. And you know, I'm just I was about to go into Vexen, but you know, I'm a scientist. Experiments are what I do. Yes. And I'm something of an agenda pusher myself, you know. So yeah, Broken Ronin pushing the Miwa narrative. I mean, I was down for it. I'm not mad about random characters getting spotlight, as long as they don't jeopardize too much of the plot or like build too much of the plot on their backs. So like Miwa actually getting a moment in Sendai or anything post that would have been interesting, but it feels like Gege throws this little tidbit in here to be like, hey, she's worthless. Remember that. I feel like he specifically threw this in to tackle it, because like who in the outside of the Broken Ronin community, and me when I'm feel like memeing, who really expected Miwa to do anything against Sukuna? Against Kenjaku? When we literally see Kenjaku just, her sword, that she put all of her force and willpower behind? Against Ume? The same Ume who was able to not just tag, but also restrain Itadori post his liberation, and Maki post her awakening Sakura Dejima? What will we, if we're calling people up to the battlefield, and we're not memeing, because of course we can meme, but if we're calling people to the battlefield, bring, we need you to come fight 3 of the evil deities. I'm sorry, Miwa isn't the first pick, the second pick, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and you may be wondering, Pencil, can you even name 20 alive characters above Miwa? And I can't, because a bunch of the series is cooked. But even still, I wouldn't even call her. I'd call random civilian number 45 before I called Miwa, because she's that far. So him dropping the fact, or Gege dropping the fact that, hey, Miwa acts, I'm not sure. Once again, this is something I want to see translations on. I'm not sure if she accidentally made a binding vow, or if she did that on purpose back in Shibuya, when he swung with all her force. if that was supposed to be like an adult Gon scenario, that's embarrassing, Miwa. But of course she's far, so it's fine. But of course, we see the whole crew. And I think, once again, I have no idea fully about what this means. I think this is addressing why Kama was here. Once again, this chapter, weirdly enough, despite being a very important chapter for, obviously, Itadori and Higuruma versus... Think about... Sukuna. I don't know why Sukuna's brain left... Sukuna's brain left my head. Sukuna's mouth left my head. I'm sorry, I don't know why that vanished. But a big thing that a lot of people were wondering, and I think Gege... I don't want to always chalk things up to just Gege forgot, but I'm going to assume Gege just forgot Kama was a thing. And I know that sounds so weird because he's the most recent colony. Like, the only reason I feel weird about saying that is because he's very specifically the most recent colony before the events of the Maguna twist and Gojo versus Suki. Like, he's Sakurajima. If it was Tokyo 1 or Tokyo, whichever Tokyo colony Itadori and Megami were in, then I get it because that's like... going on 3 years ago now. But like Sakurajima ended on 244 about a year ago. I'd say Sakurajima ended about a year ago. Breaks it all. So like the fact that Kama wasn't there was pretty weird, but he explains that, hey, I don't get paid enough for this. In fact, the Jujutsu Society has fallen. I don't get paid for this at all. I'm just gonna hop with my family and I'm gonna dip. And I mean, I can't knock his hustle, but it's kind of like I mentioned this in... That's spoilers for another popular series, though. And it's popular enough, and I know it's going to get a further anime adaptation, so I won't mention it all too much. I won't get specific. But there's another series where characters decide to stay out of an active scenario because, oh, they're afraid of what will happen if they get involved. Like, Kama, do you think that Sukuna would let you... Well, maybe he would. Once again, it's a question of whether or not Sukuna would ever leave Japan. Like, if he ate all the humans in Japan, would he just leave? Or would he just stay there and be like, oh, well, I'm too lazy to go overseas? Like, he doesn't know how to operate a plane, I don't think. But he could probably run on water. So, I don't know. Kamo running away May last year. Actually, no, I won't knock Kamo. In the similar vein to how I won't knock Yuta and Takaba for coming in with a sneak. That's just the smarter thing to do. And for Kamo, especially for a person who just went under a whole character arc about, like, understanding his purpose in the world and his family and living by his own desires, it makes sense that he's like, deuces, and he dips. So of course, one fighter down, that leaves them with much more limited options. And then once again, I mean, man, Kashi bro. I need to make a proper Kashi bro video. I made a video talking about the waffleization of Kashimo Hajime. But like, as a character, why I love him, why he's probably in my top 10 favorite characters. Then again, I have characters like Ryu in my top 10. And I forget who I told that. I told somebody that, and the amount of disgust. If looks could execute, I'd be gone 10 times over by the way they looked at me when I told them Ryu Ishigori was a top 10 favorite character of mine. But with it being the case, he has so much personality, dog. It's a shame that he had to go out the way he did, but at the same time, I'm not shocked he had to go the way that he did. But of course, Higuruma was mentioning the fact that, hey, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I can get down and dirty with him and really be like that when it be like that sometimes, especially when it be like that. You know, it's freaking Sukuna. I don't know that much about the guy, but heck, off the one thing that he got Itadori Yuji on alone, I assume most likely I can get the Executioner's Blade and we can go to work on him. However, once again, I remind him, Higuruma, I know you have like insane prodigy potential, bro. You had a whole month to train with the best of the best. But dog, you are the same person that was struggling to take down not post Demon God Yuji, not a damaged Demon God Yuji, not even a 120%. You were struggling and could not easily defeat a cursed, energyless, pre-liberated Yuji. You were just struggling with Yuji with his base physicals. And don't get me wrong, Yuji with his base physicals is a beast. But like, dog. And you think you can pull up on Sukuna with the Executioner's Blade in particular. Like, I get the idea of him like going in and using his curse technique, because if it pops off, it pops off. Once again, Sukuna should, emphasis on should, be an easy case. But Dog, the moment, because once again, that's the big thing, and I don't think they consider it at this point, because this is obviously pre the battles, but Sukuna saw everything. He was there too. And we know, well, once again, we as readers know, this is the thing with flashbacks, further context from the future past, because we're talking about past chapters, even though they happen in the future of the respective timeline. Sukuna was always listening. He was always paying attention. So, while he may have been laid out on his little bone throne, that sounds so wrong. That sounds so wrong. But while he was laid out on his little bone throne, he was listening. So even risking the Executioner's Blade is kind of, again, like, personally, I drop Higuruma in, get him to take away Sukuna's technique, and then immediately teleport him out. Remove him out in the same moment that you teleport. The moment he is free, because you know Sukuna's going to bomb rush him. You know he's going to. You know he's going to get his technique back. So honestly, keeping Higuruma on the field, if he could pass the Executioner's Blade off to somebody else, then I'd be like, okay. But Higuruma himself staying on the field, not as brightest of plays, at least not in my opinion. When you see Kusakabe, be like, okay. And then there's exponential, superhuman, next level amounts of yapping. And as a person who, I dabble in a bit of yapping myself, you know, with this, essentially from the rough translations I got, there's the idea of Higuruma having a pretty much locked case on Sukuna if the right crime gets brought up. Because here's the thing about Judge Man. Judge Man, it knows everything about you. It knows your search history. It knows that you bought that person's bathwater. It knows about what you did in 7th grade. It will never forget what you did in 7th grade. So, like, it has all this information. And with that being the case, Sukuna is a very storied individual. Sure, he has the big ones. He has most likely the greatest quantity of big ones ever. He has the slaughter of Shibuya. He has the slaughter of who knows so many innocents from the Heian period. He has the slaughter of just random people if they're just in the vicinity. He literally has wiping out a majority, like he has property damage at a bare minimum, but at his worst, he has mass endangerment, mass slaughter, and the possession of minors. Like, bro has everything that realistically should get him put away. But if Judge Man pulls up with the wrong crime and Sukuna just gets confiscation, or worse even, Sukuna is extremely intelligent, he's just a silly, goofy fella, if he beats the case and they get nothing, cooked. I want you to flip him over, put a little seasoning on him, because he's cooked. And by he, I mean everyone else. Sukuna will be fine. So that's the big thing. They need to make sure they get the appropriate crime to get brother down. And they have options. But another thing, this is such a good drawing, who's got it. But another thing that raises questions, once again, I have no idea what any of this says, but another thing that raises questions, let me see. Do they tackle it here? I'm not sure if they tackle it here. Take me there. Wanna go there, they do not show me, and it hurts my soul. But I think what they end up tackling is the idea of, and I think it may be this panel right here. This whole scenario, the Maguna scenario. Who is he? Like legally speaking, like, say hypothetically. Hold on, wait. These are not the glasses I tend to use, but like.
Hypothetically speaking, if I were to get into semantics, technically, Ryoma Sukuna is not Ryoma Sukuna. He just is. I hate to say this, but he's not actually Ryoma Sukuna right now. He's actually meant to be Fushiguro, and once he's meant to be Fushiguro, he has some executions on his list. He doesn't actually have that many, and he could have committed a bunch of petty crimes in comparison to what his actual executions were, and Judge Man could bring those up and shit.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me see. Can I actually wear my glasses typically when recording? I cannot. And these things are filthy. Sweet mother of mercy. But with that being the case, he could just be registered as Megami, and none of Sukuna's crimes are valid. And at the same time, he could also be registered as Megami and none of his crimes are valid. You may be wondering, Pencil Man, what do you mean? But realize, Itadori Yuji was charged with a crime his body committed. Not him. He was very specifically not in control. That's why Higuruma breaks after Yuji like, accepts the punishment. Because Higuruma was told, hey, BT dubs, it wasn't actually Yuji. That was like the thing that lives inside Yuji. And legally speaking, no matter how brain dead that guy is, no matter how stuffed with soul information and how sad he is about, you know, executing his sensei and his sister and his father, all that, no matter what, Megami's still technically living inside Sukuna. For all intents and purposes, that's not just Megami's body, but Megami's soul's chilling in there too. Fully intact. Well, intact is a nice way of putting it. It's there. Most likely in pieces, but it's there. So, what is Judge Man going to do? Is it going to play on our hero side and recognize, oh, hey, this fella right here, he's definitely real in Sukuna. Let's pull up his laundry list of crimes. Like, heaven forbid you go one by one with the amount of people Sukuna slaughtered. Sukuna's probably slaughtered more people than people I've actually met in real life. Probably the people that you and I both, if we were to fuse the amount of people we've met in real life, Sukuna's likely slaughtered that many people, if not more. So he has a bunch of crimes that he could get caught up on if Judge Man recognizes him as real in Sukuna, and if Judge Man plays along nicely and gives them a crime that is actually super hard to argue against. So once again, Sukuna is smart enough and should have enough information on this technique that he'll be able to make some sort of argument. Sure, he doesn't know the legal system, because I'm assuming you just know the legal system all too well outside of basic stuff, but it's real in Sukuna we're talking about. I wouldn't be shocked if he just used Enchained in the middle of the night, forced Yuji to read a whole bunch of penal code stuff, just in case he needed it one day. And Gay revealed that he whipped that out and smacked it on the table. I wouldn't be shocked. So there are some very rough conditions to getting Megami Fushiguro, and by Megami Fushiguro, I mean Ryoben Sukuna, into a position where they can essentially hard lock confiscation plus the executioner sword. It's difficult. However, this is where it gets even more complicated, and I'm still not sure this was the wisest move. I really don't think it is, but we see that they do have a certain plan, a way to pretty much guarantee that they get a crime. They fit all three criteria. They get a crime that they want, a crime that Sukuna can be implicated on, and a crime that will get them to the executioner sword level of punishment along with confiscation. Maybe even greater. Well, okay, not greater. We've literally seen the maximum amount that Judge Man can do. But we see they've discovered that. And we see that Mei uses her outer versal birds. Because, like, I'm not sure. There's, like, no way these birds aren't crazy. Because either A, the birds are bulky enough, mentally and physically, to survive Malevolent Shrine on some next level crazy buku bonker stuff, and Unlimited Void, a wombo combo of wombo combos, or they're fast enough to dodge both domains. These birds are no joke. like I'm not even gonna play with you. These birds are genuinely no joke. So the fact that Mei activates Bird Strike with them, and Sukuna, and I think even Sukuna knows these birds are no joke, because he whips out Kabutoke. He genuinely is like, I see you, and boom, blasts them with lightning. So Sukuna's afraid of Bird Strike. I think it's reasonable to assume, call it headcanon, call me a Mei muncher, whatever you want to call me, I think this kind of confirms Mei above Nanami. I think it does. If Bird Strike is so terrifying, so horrifying, that the King of Curses, Ryoben Sukuna, actually bothers to take note of it, then I think that's some next level stuff right there. If he really had to whip out, like, notably, he doesn't even throw out Cleaver, he specifically wields Kabutoke to just boop, fry him like some fried crow. I guess you can't, like, there's no other fancy way to say fried chicken. So, like, the fact that he acknowledges them and actually does them in kind of crazily upscales Mei and the birds. Shouts to Bird Gang. I know Android 16 would be proud. Android 16 would be proud. But of course, we see as Sukuna acknowledges the birds, no bees, we see that Mei acknowledges, like, okay. So I guess he's just like that. And I guess they're on the battlefield now, which is interesting. I don't know who's with her. But once again, they'll likely be revealed in the proper translations of the chapter. And we see that Higuruma goes in And once again, I know. And people are going to be like, Pencil, I'm going to need you to do me a favor and hop off. And unfortunately, I'm going to do tricks on it. Backflips, 180-degree turns. I'm going to do a corkscrew on that bad boy. So I ain't hopping off nothing. Tell me why Sukuna dodged. Like, once again, Higuruma, pre this month training, who knows what he did, he was struggling with no cursed energy, Yuji. No cursed energy, no technique, nothing. You mean to tell me Sukuna actively had to dodge him? Or, well, maybe, I can't tell if it's a dodge. These here look like motion lines. But once again, I can't tell because of the chapter quality, because these are the raws. And also, if this is just a setup for the real man of the hour. And we get this beautiful panel. At least in my opinion, it's a beautiful panel. I've heard mixed things about the art in this chapter too, but obviously it's the raws. Maybe people will shift their opinions when we get to the proper chapter. But we see a certain young fella, a certain whippersnapper, if you will, show up from the rubble. And he immediately goes into swing on Sukuna. And once again, I'll admit, as Utadori, shipping him with himself, but as Utadori, I said it again, as Yuji Itadori lunges in, he's all frowning, like, I gotta get you, Sukuna. I love how Sukuna just like, yeah, kid, go ahead. Yeah, kid, go ahead. Try it. Come get the big bag here. Go ahead, kid. Like, he's treating Yuji like a baby. And for all intents and purposes, even with them new arms, Yuji most likely still is a baby. I'm very interested to see where this goes. But we do see a little bit of where it goes when Itadori goes, bang, 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 bang. But he doesn't bang, 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 bang. Rocks. He very specifically bang, bang, bangs. Well, actually, no, he does bang, bang, bang rocks. I'm saying he doesn't bang, bang, bang Sukuna's face as much as some people would love to bang, bang, bang Sukuna's face. Not with a hammer. You know what you're about. You Ume. I'm about to say, you Ume clothes. But we see, he punches all the rocks. The rocks go towards Sukuna. And naturally, Sukuna's like, okay. You saw me defeat the strongest sorcerer of the modern day without my true form. And you open your attacks with rocks? Like, this is the same guy who was dealing with reds, blues, and hollow purples. But you're throwing rocks at him? Like, we see he manages to catch them all. At least it looks like he catches them all here, because you see some whirl around his hand. Oh, wait, actually. No. So, Itadori, he punches the rocks as the distraction. It looks like he sends out a piece of cloth to wrap around Sukuna's wrist, grabbing the same hand he has Kamutoke in, gets a good solid grip on it, and then he lunges in. Though admittedly, I'm not sure what he's tethering Sukuna to here, or like what grabs him. I have no idea. But we see Sukuna is forced to block Yuji's punch. And notably, this is just direct respect to Yuji. Sukuna does block it with three hands. He does block it with some three hands. Some today's manos. He blocks it. He doesn't just no sell. Once again, he's dodging a lot of stuff though. Like, I've seen a lot of people already saying, Hallelujah, I can finally put Yuji in top 5. Maybe even top 3. He had a boy, he had a lick, he was quick on Sukuna's double wrapped around each other stick. And I mean, once again, I'm a massive Yuji fan. I love pushing the Yuji agenda just as much as the next guy. But I don't think in good conscience I can claim that. Like, I genuinely don't think in good conscience I can claim that. But that's just me, though. We see that Sukuna's like, as he starts to vibrate for a minute. And we see that he doesn't actually understand what happened. Like, Yuji's, but he's like, the Brad hit me. What do you do though? And we see that it's Higuruma who ended up tethering Sukuna, which is once again very, very impressive. Like, being able to hold back one of Sukuna's arms at all, even when he's extremely casual. Higuruma has to have gotten a massive buff. Higuruma maybe top 10 already on these feats alone. But we see that Higuruma uses this to activate his domain expansion. deadly sentencing. And I love how the domain spawns too, how it rises out. And I love I don't remember those being there before, but I haven't reread the Itadori versus Higuruma fight in a while. But the what do you call it? Not just decapitation devices. The guillotine. I'm sorry. I don't know why the word guillotine left my head. But I love the detail of the guillotines being there, almost preparing for the execution. And ironically enough, the execution can only happen outside the domain, because the domain itself forbids violence. And we see Sukuna. He gets wrapped up in a podium. But strangely enough, we cut back to the past, and we see what their plan was. Essentially, Itadori, I think he asked, like, hey, can't we just, like, continue my trial where I was on call for what Sukuna did and have him defend himself? And we see back in the present, Judge Man, ever impartial, is like, hey, BT Dubs, we're charging Ryoma and Sukuna. Well, I don't know if it says Ryoma and Sukuna or Megami Fushiguro. We're charging this fellow. Actually, no, I think it says Itadori Yuji. I saw that in the rough translations, but Itadori Yuji's charged. But now we have a 3-way court battle. Well, not 3-way. It's still 2 against 1. But we now have a 3-way court battle between Higuruma Hiromi, the man who went from no one to grade 1 in the matter of a few days, and Itadori Yuji, the transcendent, sweet mother mercy, the transcendent pinnacle of all of Kenjaku's children, and Sukuna Ryomen, the king of curses, with no more than a smile on his face as they challenge him to a game of wits. Once again, he is smiling here. I assume he knew this was going to happen. He just doesn't care because he's Ryomen Sukuna. But this is a very interesting setup to leave the chapter at, because this is a spoiler discussion, and I want to see some context and translations before I get into it. There's one particular character in the chapter who doesn't even, like, do they appear? Let me take a look. Let me go back in time, back to reality, and see if I can find. She is, oh wait, no, that's Kirara. So, is that supposed to be Maki? I don't know. Is that a Pikachu? Why does it look like a Pikachu? Once again, low quality images. But let me see. Maki, are you here in this chapter? Maki, are you present today? It does look like she is. So, Maki has kind of been a character who, in recent events, hasn't really gotten too much to do. But, let me just say this. Maki's the only character that's currently alive in the entire series who can ignore domains and their rules. I wonder, who could such a character... Oh, Maki Zenin! And what do we have here? The king of curses, locked in a convenient spear shape, where he cannot escape nor enact violence, lest he receive an absolute detriment? Wouldn't it be a shame if just, now that there's a massive bubble floating out in the open where everyone knows where it is because they've all been watching it on TV, if only, somehow, some way, if only she could walk right on in there and get Sukuna's head off. Because remember, she doesn't have to follow the non-violence rule. She kind of doesn't even, she will only appear when she feels like appearing. So at any moment, since Sukuna should be left liable to this non-violence rule, he couldn't even fight back. And Maki wouldn't be subject to any punishment because Maki's not even recognized by the domain. So there's a bunch of stuff with this chapter. There's so much potential. I'm very interested to see it. But of course, I need the translations before I go any more in depth. However, this is still... in the raws alone, in the loose translations I got, that sounded ugly. It still sounded ugly. But this chapter is, in fact, worthy. A whole bunch of character work. Even the flashbacks I kind of like, because it brings up the discussion that the fandom has been having about the Higuruma case and how that's going to go. I need Lawyer Maharaga. I need that to become canon, so Gege. Chop, chop, get to working. But overall, this is a very, very, very W chapter. However, that's what I think. Please tell me, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, please leave the judged king in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any news that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays, Red Wolf, Fortune 65, and Greyhound. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Winter, Victor, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, and Demix LND. I'd like to give a scrumptious thank you to our $7 member, Autumn's Morning Lazo. And I'd like to give another chunka-dunka thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idem Okami. I'd like to give another thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give a hefty, nifty thank you to our two $25 patrons, Calvin Elder and Igneel.